evening, and thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for making time for this evening's meeting. My name is Daniel Nyorgia, and I'll be speaking on behalf of WAJESHA, and I'm going to have you go with me on this journey from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we look forward to sharing knowledge and engaging on various topics. And as rightly seen on our screen, understanding biodiversity, why nature matters to our future. And this is a WAJESHA virtual engagement, and who is our guest speaker? Professor Wiafe Debrah, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Environment and Development. Um, I've been on campus for a few programs, so good to engage again here. And as I mentioned, that I'm Debrah, the new editor for WAJESHA, and my colleagues are here joining to learn more and also understand what is ahead of us. In this meeting, we are going to have it in sessions. So before Honorable presenter begins with a presentation, we'll engage the Executive Director for WAJESHA, Mr. Nuruddin, to come in and talk to us about WAJESHA, and then we start our meeting briefly. So, Mr. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin, if you can hear me, you can unmute to us as Prof prepares shortly. We don't want to put him on spot because he's sharing his screen and he's preparing. So after Mr. Nuruddin, Engineer Nuruddin completes his introduction, and would have Prof. Edward Wiafe Debrah also come to talk to us.
Yes, thank you very much, Daniel. I think that almost all of us here know much about WAJESHA, and once we know much about it, I think there is no need for us to go back to talk about things that we already know. So those in Nigeria and other countries are on their way back home from work, and so I would prefer that Prof would begin with his presentation so that we didn't spend much talking about things that we already know. Thank you, Daniel. So I think that you can take over and then we begin the program. Once we know much about what the charter is, no need for us to go back to talk about it again.
Thank you so much for everyone joining us. And if Professor is ready, and you can let us hear you. If you're set, we would like to engage you now. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have Professor Edward Wiafe Debrah coming to talk to us on biodiversity. So please take note, write your questions down, and to some other participants who are here, please understand that the participants is mixed. We have media researchers and a blend of as well as other environmental focus persons here, and all of them are across the West Africa. So please, the questions will come. As Prof is coming, please understand that the audience is varied, so we'll work on that. So thank you so much, Prof, and we look forward to engaging you now. And you have your floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good evening to all members present virtually. Thank you for the privilege to present to you on the topic biodiversity, why nature matters to our future. And I don't take it lightly for inviting me to deliver such a talk on biodiversity, things that are around us. So in the first place, we will talk about what biodiversity is, why it matters, the biodiversity and human well-being, the current crisis faced by biodiversity, major threats, Ghana and Africa's biodiversity, the role of community, the role of journalists, what every citizen can do, and the key messages that we take home. Ladies and gentlemen, bear with me to take you through this journey. In the first place, the question is, what is biodiversity? This biodiversity are all the lives that we can talk about. This includes living plants, microorganisms, ecosystems, genetic diversity within species, fungi, animals, etc. Everything that has life is put under the word biodiversity. In the long run, biodiversity can be said to be the web of life that sustains our planet. The web of life that sustains our planet. Let's go into a big detail of that. When we talk about biodiversity, we are talking about 3 levels of diversity. That is genetic diversity, which is the variation within species. So those of us who are farmers, you can have a yellow cocoa, green cocoa, or other colors of cocoa. They are all cocoa plants. That is the variety within the species. Likewise, the maize or animal. In your small poultry, you can count on yellow dog, black dog, etc. But they will all be dog because of the genetic variation in the genes. Then another level of diversity is species, different plants and animals that comes together, like elephants, primates, birds, fish, butterflies, are all species diversity. They are different species that cannot produce offspring with each other. So they are species diversity. And the third level of diversity is the different habitats that we have. We can talk about forests, we can talk about wetlands, we can talk about rivers, mountains, savanna, or ocean, are all diverse ecosystems that provide places where life thrives. These 3 levels are interconnected and essential for life on Earth. So let's come home, Africa. We can count several types of systems that are blessed with the African continent. We can boast of tropical forests, we can boast of savannas, wetlands, mangroves, coral reefs, mountains. In Africa, we also have species like gorillas, chimpanzees, forest elephants, savanna elephants, lions, pangolins, and thousands of endemic plants that we are still discovering. In the long run, biodiversity supports millions of livelihoods. This can be the form of agriculture products that we have, fisheries, forestry, tourism, medicine and medicinal knowledge, and trade and local markets, where we have many diverse of life exhibiting. In the long run, healthy ecosystem drive wildlife, strong communities makes the Africa a sustainable future on the continent. In Ghana, over 700 bird species are found in Ghana. More than 200 mammal species can be found in Ghana. We have rich marine ecosystem, diverse
freshwater fisheries, numerous medicinal plants, important forests such as Kakum, Atiwa, and Bia in Ghana alone. And these plants and forests provide medicine, foods, materials, and income for the people in this locality. For that matter, many communities depend directly on these natural resources. So we need to protect and sustainably use this natural heritage for present and future generations. Why does biodiversity matter? We get so many plants, food, plants, animals, and others are the forests, wetlands, and others. People that destroy wetlands should ask themselves, without these wetlands, where can we even get rice to eat? Where can we get fishes to eat? There are trees in that we have timber, we can boast of flood protection plants like the mangroves, climate regulations, etc., and many more. We even depend on biodiversity for recreation and cultural values. Without biodiversity, our economy cannot function and function well. We can also look at biodiversity and food security. Nature feeds us. It gives us fish, fruits, vegetables, livestock, wild foods, pollinators. In fact, nearly 75% of global food crops depend to some extent on animal pollination. For example, without bees and other pollinators, food production declines. So protecting biodiversity means protecting our food or health or future. Let's look at some details: biodiversity and human health. Nature provides traditional medicine. Modern pharmaceuticals are taken from nature. Clean air, clean water, healthy diets. We are talking about biodiversity support to economies. We can look at our agricultural fields, fisheries, tourism, forestry, pharmaceutical industry, energy and construction material. Healthy biodiversity has impact on economies and sustainable future. Many medicines originated from plants, animals, and microorganisms. Biomass, biofuels, and other natural resources provide renewable energies. There are woods, bamboos, and other materials that support sustainable construction and infrastructure. In the long run, we can say nature contributes to our economies through the various activities, fisheries, agriculture, tourism, forestry, etc. Let's look at the crises that are faced. Despite all these benefits, globally, biodiversity is facing a lot of crises. Scientists have estimated that around 1 million species face extinction today. These are through habitat loss that continues globally. Every country is facing habitat loss of organisms. Wildlife populations have declined dramatically. Ecosystems are becoming less resilient, and nature is declining faster than any time in human history. The issue is for us to act now, protect nature, and secure our future. The major drivers of biodiversity loss are deforestation. Forests are cleared for timber, firewood, and development. Agriculture expansion, illegal mining, pollution, climate change, invasive species, non-native species outcompete the native species and disrupt the ecosystem. Illegal wildlife trade, unsustainable harvesting are among the lot of crises that biodiversity is facing. And these threats are often interact and to address them together is the essential to protect biodiversity. All these are interacting with each other. If you expand agriculture, it will end up in deforestation. Issues of surface mining is also disrupting our waterways, causing a lot of pollution. In Ghana, where I come from, the issue is not different. In Ghana, there are accelerated rise of forest degradation, wetland destruction, river pollution, surface mining, bushfires, coastal erosion, wildlife hunting, habitat fragmentation. And these are directly affecting the human livelihood and also hamper the progress of our future. There are conservation actions that have taken place. You must know that any small action has a big impact on biodiversity. One of them is the protected area management, where we have nature preserving the future of biodiversity. We have protected areas, national parks, resource reserves, forest reserves are set aside to protect the future of biodiversity. Another action is community forests, where local people protect and manage forests for sustainable benefits. Wildlife reserves are also existing to protect the existing wildlife from poaching and extinction. Mangrove restoration. Mangrove provide support for fisheries and fight against climate change. And there are a lot of destruction going on in the mangrove forest. So mangrove restoration is another effort. Tree planting, massive tree planting at the national and community level is also recommended. There are others like sustainable farming, where the farmers don't only depend on rainfall, but also adapt irrigation and provide food throughout the seasons. Ecotourism is another non-invasive activity where people will go to natural areas, pay money, enjoy, and also recreate themselves and continue to protect the nature. The stronger one is togetherness, partnership, and education build a conservation-minded society. So these are conservation works that when we embark on, it has a big impact on biodiversity. Communities are central. Successful conservation requires local leadership. Strong local leadership guides and inspires conservation actions. Traditional knowledge is very necessary to protect the biodiversity. Women participation is very vital in conservation and livelihood decision making. Youth engagement indigenous practices, and shared benefits contribute to conservation of biodiversity. And once the people benefit from biodiversity, they will protect it. The role of journalists. The role of journalists. Environmental journalism should explain scientific findings. It should translate complex science into clear, accurate, and engaging stories. The environmental journalists should investigate environmental crimes, expose illegal activities, and expand justice for nature and communities. 3. Environmental journalists should highlight community solutions, share local innovations, inspire others with real solutions. Environmental journalists should counter misinformation. There are fake news around. You should fight myths and false narratives with facts, evidence, and reality. That is responsible reporting. You should also give voice to local communities to tell stories from the ground and amplify voices that are often ignored. The environmental journalists should hold institutions accountable. They should ask tough questions, demand transparency, and enforce policy actions and responsibility. Furthermore, the environmental journalists should inspire positive action, motivate people to care, act, and protect biodiversity for the future. In the long run, good journalism saves biodiversity. They inform, educate, empower, and protect biodiversity. Telling better biodiversity stories. At this stage, I think we should move beyond another tree was cut to create fear, fatigue, distance, disconnection. Facts alone don't create change. We have to tell people who protect nature and depend on it every day. We have to tell them good stories. We have to educate them. Our storytelling should move to livelihoods, how biodiversity support jobs, incomes and future opportunities. Food. Tell the story about the link between healthy ecosystem and our food on the table. How forests and wetlands clean, store, and protect our water sources. Tell the stories about climate, nature's role in storing carbon and building climate resilience. Tell the story about health, clean air, pure water. Nature improve our physical and mental well-being. And also tell the story about economy. Healthy ecosystem drive tourism, innovation, and long-term economic growth. Connect biodiversity to everyday life. The environmental journalists should tell better stories, stronger connection, wider impacts, and a better future for all. What can citizens do? Citizens can plant trees, restore forests, improve air quality, and create habitats. Citizens, everyone, can protect wetlands. Wetlands filter water and control floods and support biodiversity. So we can protect the wetlands. We can also reduce plastic waste. We can reduce, reuse, and recycle to keep our environment clean. We can also avoid illegal wildlife products. Say no to wildlife products, protect endangered species, support sustainable farming, choose local and sustainable food, support farmers who protect nature, conserve water, save water today for better tomorrow, report environmental crimes, speak and support illegal activities, participate in restoration programs, and spread the awareness. Educate your colleagues, educate your children, educate your peers, and educate the whole community. Small actions create large impact. Policy matters. Government should strengthen environmental laws, support restoration, invest in research, promote sustainable agriculture. Government should improve protected area management, encourage green jobs, and support environmental education. You should know that strong policies today sustain tomorrow for all. Ladies and gentlemen, biodiversity is development. Biodiversity is not separate from development. It underpins Sustainable Development Goal 1, no poverty. SDG 2, zero hunger. SDG 3, good health. SDG 6, clean water. SDG 8, decent work. SDG 13, climate action. SDG 14, life below water. And SDG 15, life on land. Protecting biodiversity today secures a sustainable future for all. In the long run, you can take these messages home. That 1, biodiversity supports human survival. Nature underpins economies. Biodiversity laws threaten development. Conservation benefits people. Everyone has a role to play. Journalists are powerful agents of change. Our nature, our future, our choice. Protect biodiversity, protect life. My closing reflection will be that protecting biodiversity is not simply about preserving wildlife. It is about protecting our food, our health, our economy, our climate, and the future of generations yet unborn. Our future, conservation of biodiversity today ensures a thriving planet and a better life for generations to come. Let's work together. Let's act now. Let's protect biodiversity for nature, for people, and for our future. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Prof. We are grateful for the presentation, and we are currently looking into taking some questions. If you have some questions, you can put them in the chat box. You can also raise your hand, and then that will also help. And most importantly, also, we encourage you to fill the Google form. So we'll be sharing that in the comment section just now. So ensure to fill it. So yes, so you could see that in the comment section. Thank you so much, Prof. And we are grateful for enlightening us on biodiversity. And I'm sure that the regional breakdown here, as we have, our colleagues across Africa here, will have distinct experience with in terms of endangered species. Other questions? Other questions? Are there contributions as well? So not only questions, but contributions as well. Okay, so we have Mohammed Tawfiq being our first person who has raised a hand to shed light or ask a question. So Mohammed Tawfiq will come in now, and then would so let's start with Mohammed Tawfiq. Mohammed.
Sorry.
Kamal Ahmed,
Daniel,
can you mute? Yes, Mohammed, you can go on.
okay. Good evening. Good evening, Prof. Please, I want to find out, based on your discussion this evening, how do you see the future of Ghana when it comes to biodiversity?
Okay, so can I pick that?
Yes, please, Prof, you can. You can.
At the moment, Ghana is at the crossroads. The biodiversity in Ghana is at crossroads. We are developing very fast at the expense of biodiversity. You can see issues like estate development, mining, road constructions, etc. All these developments occur at the expense of biodiversity. And the time is now for us to ponder over it and strike a balance between development and conservation. As much as we are human beings, we will develop, but not at the expense of the very foundation in which our life depends. Because we are running to the blank future so far as biodiversity is concerned. At least for the past 100 years, Ghana has been the only one African country to lose a species, the red colobus, that has gone extinct for some 50 years now. Nobody has sighted it in the wild. And it is not a good sign for Ghana to continue because a lot of people eat bush meat without looking back at the resource or the sustainable way of eating bush meat, hunting, capturing, and destruction of these animals. Harvesting of timber is also occurring unabated. And nowadays, surface mining has taken over, and every place in the country that you go, they do surface mining without any controlling. So these are some of the blank future that we have for biodiversity.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. I have a few questions, but we are taking contributions as well as questions on the presentation by Prof on biodiversity. And if you have questions, we really take them. So let me chip in mine whilst my colleagues prepare accordingly to share this. In mentioning biodiversity, are there some that are cross-boundary? So there are issues that are affecting maybe 3 countries in a row. Are there some specific issues like that? Because we have our colleagues in other countries as well. So maybe after this webinar, you want to look at such stories. We'll be grateful if you can maybe shed light on those, on some biodiversity issues that reflect in maybe 2 or more countries that we can look at and then highlight them. And then also looking at the biodiversity and connecting it to the human being. How do we make that connection? Because if you say that, as you just mentioned, a species or an animal, I have no idea what it is. Um, I don't know what it is, but how do we get its relevance manifested in the life of human beings for them to understand and appreciate it? So if you say that maybe chimpanzees are going to extinction, how can I explain to the ordinary Ghanaian or the ordinary Nigerian that chimpanzees going extinct means a lot to the environment? Like connecting that relevance to that. If you wait for bushmeat and tell me that this is grass cutter, should I be concerned that, or I should be rather be grateful that I've grass cutter meat? And if you educate the person, so that connection between the distinct relevance of these animals and plants to the environment and as human citizens, that is what we want to look at. So these two questions. There's a third one in the comment section. That's by Solomon Guma, who says that I would like Prof to touch on the safety of journalist reporting on biodiversity. So these three sites, in terms of biodiversity that are cross boundary, that's the first one. The second one is how to make the connection between endangered species and human development or what it is. And third point is the safety of journalists reporting biodiversity. I'm sure this is our colleague. That's why it's a virtual media training. So we are here.
Okay. So, you see, we have what is called biogeography, which goes beyond political boundaries. Unfortunately, Africa and West Africa is being divided by political boundaries instead of biogeographical areas. So there are common species that are found in the forests that extends from Liberia up to western part of Ghana. It is called Upper Guinea Forest. That is one biogeographical area. There's also another block of forest that extends from eastern Nigeria up to Congo, and that is also called Lower Guinea Forest. Separating the two is a savanna zone called Dahomey Gap. The savanna zone is also another biogeographical area, and these contain unique species that can thrive well only within these biogeographical areas. So if we want to conserve species, we should go beyond our political boundaries and rather focus on the biogeographical areas, and that will assist in common transboundary conservation activities. The second one is the connection between human beings and biodiversity. Usually, extinction may mean when you lose the species. If you lose a species and then you realize its ecological or economic importance, that is where you use the word extinction to mean that the species has been extinct. I won't take you to the larger animals, but even the smaller ones. If we eradicate all the bees who conduct the pollination for us, and the season that your fruit will not bear fruit, your trees will not bear fruit, you then realize the importance of the common bee that we see. So these animals perform critical role in the ecosystem that human mind, human resources cannot, maybe, but not possible to handle it within the space of a lifetime. recently, Ghana Cocoa Research Institute wanted to conduct pollination by human beings. And the cost that incurred by the institute far outweigh what the bees were doing. So you will realize that there are a lot of connections between even our daily medicines that we take. Many of them take a source from the wild, that is the biodiversity area. And the third one, the safety of journalists. Journalists are very safe. They are safer in broadcasting or sharing knowledge in biodiversity than to report on political issues. So for that one, journalists are very safe in crusading the fundamental of our lives, the resource that color our life, the resource that nurture our lives. Journalists are embraced when they take such initiatives. Please, have I been able to answer your questions?
Yes. We also thank you so much. Yes, Prof. We've been able to touch more, but interestingly more. And our colleague Amajiman is asking that you mentioned the name of a species lost by Ghana. During your presentation, I also couldn't catch the word. So if you can retrace that one, then I'll just come in with more of the questions again.
Yeah, the name is Miss Wardron's red colobus. It was a monkey that lives on top of tall trees in the western Ghana and eastern Cote d'Ivoire range. And due to timberization and excessive hunting, and also export of its skin, because it was a very beautiful monkey, we cannot find it or sight it in the wild anymore.
That's about 40K already. You're not managing.
Okay.
Sorry?
Okay, Kamal, kindly. No, sorry. Prof, you're okay. Kamal,
Okay.
so the when if I'll be grateful if you can put the name of it in the chat box.
Okay.
I had the Miss Wondrous Columbus. I don't know whether that's the right pronunciation of Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be grateful if you can put the name in the chat box. Now, okay.
Posted is there, so I posted it.
Okay. Okay, so Prof, you're okay. Now we have more coming in. I think when you even mentioned the hand pollination, in my head, I'm developing even a story about it. The cost of hand pollination, Ghanaians becoming extinct. I mean, these are some of the headlines we are developing our heads now. Just listening to this presentation, and this is what it means to us as media practitioners who we secretly want to have engagement as this. So a few of the questions are coming again, and my colleagues are asking, what are the biggest threats to biodiversity in West Africa today? What are the biggest threats? And then, what are some of the common misconceptions about biodiversity that the public should know?
Okay.
That's the second one. And then the third one is what policy changes would you recommend to better protect biodiversity in Ghana and across West Africa? So these are the three ones we are looking at now. And then we'll take the last set of questions then. We'll bring the curtains down. Yes.
Yes, the first one, the biggest threat. In my presentation, I said they are interrelated. But then classifying them together, we can have the top three threats. These are habitat destruction, overexploitation, and invasive species. Habitat destruction, overexploitation, and invasive species. I'm sure you are clear about this. The second one is the misconception. The misconception about biodiversity has been and is still being that the natural resource or biodiversity was given to us by God. And in Genesis chapter 2, verse 28, God gave us the freedom to consume the birds in the air, mammals on the earth, and the fish in the sea. So why do we have to conserve? These are misconceptions. In the actual sense, the Bible gave the man power to nurture these resources. And this nurturing activity, in other words, means stewardship. So if you are a steward, one day you'll be accountable to the master. And we have to clear this misconception that it is, even though it is God-given, we still have a charge to take good care of it, because one day the master will ask us to give accountable to that. The third one is the policy changes. The policies we have must be changed or modified as the times are changing. You know, not long ago, 50 years ago, there were no phones, or you write a letter and it will take about 1 month before the recipient gets it. Now, by the click of the button, you can communicate with people. Look at the number of people that we are communicating with. So the enemies of the biodiversity are changing their strategies very fast. So policies must also be modified to catch up with the test of the time. Yeah, please. These are the basic answers that I can give.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. And we'll be coming into the last set of questions, and then we'll look at a few things. So let's get to the next set. Now, my colleagues, we are all interested in knowing, getting sources for data and materials to help us, explore this topic. Where can we find the data if we want to look at, let's say, things on Togo, things on Cape Verde, things on Benin, things on Burkina Faso, so that we know that, okay, in this country, in my country, in Burkina Faso or La Côte d'Ivoire, these are the endangered species, or these are the things I need to focus on in terms of biodiversity. We want to know, where can we get them in terms of data, in terms of materials.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Every country, and in Africa, for instance, we have Society for the Conservation of Biodiversity, where even this year, from 29th, from 31st August to 5th September, we are all converging at Nigeria, University of Lagos, to have a conference. So this society, this is available to journalists, to people, and there are free resources that you can download and educate yourself. Similarly, the following week, that is from 5th September to 15th September, we are also meeting in Cameroon, Yaoundé. That is West Africa, that is African Primatological Society. Researchers in Africa that are researching on monkeys and their associates are also meeting in Yaoundé. And on these websites, you can get a lot of materials that can educate you and your people there. Yeah, and once I'm now part of you can also search my various publications, and there are books and then other articles that many people I have written, and you can always contact me for more materials.
Okay, okay. So we are bookmarking the date 5th September, and my colleague has raised his hand, Abdul Majid. Abdul Majid, you can unmute and let's hear from you.
Okay, good evening, Prof.
Good evening, sir.
According to your distant presentation, you made mention of journalists reporting cases, and you talk about the safety of journalists again. I have encountered a situation at Savannah region of Ghana last year, whereby like some individuals were cutting down trees. Then my mindset was to bring out a story out of that. And unfortunately on my part, like some youth saw me and actually they nearly beat me. And I was lucky they sent me to a chief palace. And to my surprise, like the chief was involved, the political actors were involved. So in this case, like our journalists safe in terms of reporting biodiversity issues.
Yes, I also said we should involve the community as well. You know, I praise Savannah region because there are certain trees that they don't cut. Even during their farming, when they are farming, they farm under the trees without cutting those trees down. And anytime I pass there, I appreciate these efforts. So you could have also designed a different means of capturing your story rather than the policing or militant approach. And the community would have given you more information about the situation. So, yes, it is heartbreaking sometimes, but then we should also strategize our reporting style by even including the community itself, and they will give you much of the information. I've worked a lot in the Savannah and that region, and I appreciate how the most of the people even suffer from crop raiding and other human wildlife conflicts. Yet, when the money is realized from tourism, it, it doesn't go into the community, but goes back into the central treasury. So this will create an antagonistic relationship between the people and biodiversity, of course, because there's an opportunity cost where they have, forgo their farms, etc., for biodiversity. Yet, when the money is realized from the government, it goes back to central treasury to be shared by all, and they get lesser than even the usual. So, in reporting, it's not likely that you expose yourself into much danger.
Okay. Are you okay, Abdul? Are you satisfied, or you need? Hello, Abdul. Okay. That's fine. Yes, Prof. We'll come back just based on what you mentioned in terms of tourism, going back to the central registry instead of integrating the society. We understand how the mining companies normally work. The community is supposed to have some royalties and also some benefits from these mining companies. But as you just mentioned, I was hoping that would that be one of your policy recommendations that places of
tourist attraction should also have a place in supporting communities or getting to the local treasury to ensure that they feel or they have they also benefit from whatever monies that are being accumulated from these tourist sites. I mean, what your comment would be on that? And then, as journalists, would want to know what are some of the successful biodiversity stories that you'd want us to highlight as journalists. We don't want to always look at the problems. We want to know what are the successful biodiversity projects or initiatives that have been taken. Now you mentioned about how communities even farm under trees instead of just cutting the tree, but they farm under the trees and still go about their agricultural practices. That's the second one, and then the third one is what do you have to say about biodiversity being part of the whole evolution process? What do you have to say about that?
Being part of, evolution process.
Yeah, so looking at biodiversity as part of the whole evolution process in terms of survival of the fittest, some species dying on their own.
Yes.
What do you have to say? Because we also conflicted and asked him as journalists, well, we don't do anything to these things, but they just die on their own. What do you have to say about that? Is it every biodiversity laws that have to be blamed on human beings, or some just go? They just go with nature. That's how it's supposed to be. So, shedding some light on is that should we know about some biodiversity laws that should be associated with nature, or we should say biodiversity laws and protecting biodiversity is solely on human. So these three perspectives, then we'll look at for a last contribution from a colleague, and then we'll bring it to an end.
So the benefits, in my opinion, the person who suffers should benefit. If you've traveled through our protected areas in the country or the tourist sites, the least you talk about their roads, the better. But these areas command large number of tourists from all over the world. Some even travel wherever they come from to go and watch birds. But the road network, when the government is constructing the road, you put it in Accra, the capital, and leave the remote areas. And that is not good. So, in my opinion, and these people who are living with biodiversity suffer a lot from them. So why don't they benefit in case of any benefits? In terms of disaster, anytime the disaster strikes, the government compensates people who have been hit by the disaster. So why can't the government also compensate for farmers who loses their crops or their livelihood to wildlife or this biodiversity? That's my opinion for the first one. Then there are several success stories in Africa. One time in Nigeria, they were constructing a highway through one of the forests that contains gorillas. And because of the presence of the gorillas, the people kick against that, and the road was diverted away and even improve the existing road rather than constructing a new one. In Uganda, the lake Victoria, there was a time that the Victoria was described as Darwin's dream lake because it was containing about 400 different species of fish. Now, the European merchants went there and introduced one species called Nile perch. The Nile perch, the size of the Nile perch is about 2 meters. 2 good meters. And this Nile perch preyed on the local fishes and it became invasive. In the long run, the merchants were getting money getting fishes to export, but the local fishes, the biodiversity made Darwin's dream lake to become a nightmare. So measures were quickly put in place to ban the Nile perch from the Lake Victoria. And now it has regained its structure. Ghana has also taken an initiative called Community Resource Management Areas, where the power is being devolved from the government and giving it to the local authorities. So if somebody wants to harvest any natural resource or natural biodiversity in the area, they will go and see the local community who will supervise and monitor these harvests, and also they pay certain amount to the locality before the government take its share. These are a few success stories. As part of the evolution processes, the origin of man can be traced scientifically to the species, the apes, and it is at the evolution period. So losing, and if you understand food chain means in the world, somebody depends on another, another depends on another. So there wouldn't be any chance for one species to become overpopulated. But if we lose one species, then there will be a gap where another species can get peace to increase in population. And that can bring a lot of chaos in the ecosystem. Yeah. If I got your questions right, I think these are my reactions.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. We will look forward to engaging more, especially the data, the new publications that would be drawing attention to some of the issues you have raised here. And also, our colleagues in Nigeria have taken note of the conference that is coming up. So we'll reach out again more to see how best we can work together for that on that conference and to get more. And
I'm
then
sure
also
most of them over there.
Yes.
Yes.
Surely, certainly. Yes, and I can see you have a new book called The Wildlife Conservation and Agriculture Development Africa, published in January 2026 this year.
Yes.
Yeah, just doing some a bit of background on that. So we look forward to accessing these research work and ensuring that we participate a lot more in that. In terms of the conference, what's the next step from us here after this webinar?
Sorry?
Yes, Prof. I'm saying that ahead of the conference that you mentioned, we are very much interested, and our members are eager to hear how we can work together in relation to the conference. Where should we start from?
Oh, you just Google Society of Conservation Biology, African chapter, and it will take you to our site. And I'll speak to the organizers. It's an international conference, so I'll speak to the local organizing team, and if I can link the organization to it so that we come and cover the event.
Okay, thank you so much. So colleagues, you've heard from the source. So we'll certainly reach out accordingly and work together on it. We look forward to more fruitful engagements. Thank you so much. My colleagues, I see that there are no hands raised, and we'll work together to get more. It's been a pleasure having you, and on a Monday evening, which is a very tough day. Thank you so much for making time, and we are happy to have you. I'll invite my colleague Nuruddin to come in, and we hear from him shortly on that. So as he come in, as he makes his presence felt, colleagues, can you remember there's a Google form chat box? Please click on it and fill the. So, colleague and director for WAJESHA, Nuruddin. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. We are so grateful for your time. In fact, we didn't expect to see the numbers we saw today because we know it's always Monday and members are busy, especially those in Nigeria. It was 6 p.m. in Nigeria. Some were traveling back home, and we have some others from Cape Verde, from other West African countries, Burkina and the rest were part. Some of them have left actually, but we are so happy that many of them have joined. We had about over 30 of them joining. Prof, we appreciate your time. This was very insightful, and I'm sure my colleagues are going to work on some beautiful stories and share with you. We're looking forward to working with you. And in fact, like my colleague said, Daniel said, we are very much interested in the conference, and we would communicate to you on how we can collaborate with the organizers in Nigeria and Cameroon. So that, Nigeria share border with Cameroon. So if it really is becoming necessary for some of our members to even go to Cameroon, then we would see how we can work together, because we want to ensure that whatever that happens in West Africa must be done and covered by WAJESHA. Because we have all the people that you want, all the best journalists in West Africa can be found here. In Ghana, in Nigeria, you see all the investigative journalists, all the award-winning journalists are here. So thank you so much, Prof. We are so grateful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hope to meet at another time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, we ask of leave now, and then please ensure you click on the Google form to apply to submit your records. And thank you so much, Prof. We look forward to engaging you. Have a great evening.